Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. So, as for everyone who is new, please like the video, subscribe. If you are here from the beginning, I appreciate you coming back. Today, we're going to talk about 10 of the most overused suits when it comes to kits, so just how many they have. I had planned to do this back a few months ago. I was only going to do 5, but when I started looking into it, I realized just how many there really are. Because if you think about it, overused would include all of the kits, like throughout any type of kit. So just looking at like a standard high grade or something, it's like, okay, that's like at least 30 right there, because you have all the special editions, and then you have like, see-through versions, and then you have P Bandai versions and regular releases, and then re-releases that might come with some kind of new feature or new, item or something in the box. And then you have all the different versions of that same suit in high grade, but from different time eras and in all of its other versions. Then you have the SD and Master Grade and all of all their different variants. So you have just tons of different versions of sometimes the exact same suit. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So that's what we're gonna be going over. And also, real quick, we have a new sub goal. My sub goal is 50. I figured having a goal that's further away would be a little bit more fun to get to. So when we get to 30 and 40, you'll still get a celebration video. You'll still get like a, 40 sub special or whatever. But like the 50 one is the big one that we're going to try and get to. So uh, if you do, please sub. Let's get to that, like goal of 50 or a sub goal of 50. And of course, like the video. Let's try and get like 2 likes on this video. I would really think that would be really cool, helpful. Anyways, I appreciate it, and let's jump into it. So, starting out, I'm tallying all the kits of the 10 suits that I picked that I believe to be the most overused suits for model kits. And this is all coming from DeLong.net, which apparently is a very like trusted source when it comes to Gundam kits, and going through each one of his pages and counting them. Now, I probably did count the same suit a few times going between different pages. Um, so I could be about maybe 3 or so kits off per kit, but really that's not too big of a deal. Um, so we'll have a pretty accurate amount of kits for each one. And whenever you get started, it's a lot. Also, keep in mind that there are certain kits that are not technically the one that I wrote down, but they're basically the exact same suit when it comes to the lore. So I'm just going to count them, like the Zaku 2 and then the Zaku 2 FZ or Foz or whatever you want to call it. Um, so that gives you an example of what I mean. Like I'll count the unicorn, but I'll also count the Banshee and Phoenix. So that gives you a better idea of what I mean. So let's move on to master grades. So on DeLong.net, which will have a link in the description. I don't know if I told you that or not, but in case I didn't, it'll have a link. When it comes to master grades, there are 2 tabs. There's MG and MG2. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a few that he's missing, but for the most part, almost everything is there. Um, the first page is like all standard releases. That would include re-releases of the same suits, but with just different weapons and different things like that. Maybe different armor pieces or whatever. But it's the same. It's literally the same thing. So obviously I'm counting those. And then of course I'm also counting special editions, limited edition versions, and stuff like that. Contest versions that he has listed. Because they are the same thing. They're the suit, but re-released. And just with master grades alone, these are the 10. By the way, these are the 10 that I uh, wrote down as the ones I believe to be the most overused. Zaku 2, RX-78, New Gundam, Wing, Exia, Barbie, or Barbados, Astray, Strike, Freedom, and Unicorn. Now, I had a few others on this list that I took off. I originally had Zeta, and I also had originally the Gundam 00 also on here. But I don't feel like they are as over. They're not really that overused in my opinion compared to the ones I wrote down. I also had the Justice on here, but again, I don't think the Justice is that overused compared to the rest of the ones I wrote down. But just for master grades, the Zaku 2 has 36, at least according to what I counted. The RX-78 has 40. The new has 9. The Wing has 10. Barbie only has 1 master grade. Or at least according to his site, but I do think they have a P Bandai version that came out recently that he might not have updated his site yet. But according to his site, there's only 1. The Astray has 6. The Strike has 13. The Freedom has 10. The Exia has 7. And the Unicorn has 12. That's just master grades. So, now we're going to move on to, I believe, real grades. Alright, so real grade. Now, remember I said earlier that I know that some of his stuff hasn't been completely updated. So there's a few kits that I know are missing, because I'm pretty sure they have a real grade Barbados, but he doesn't have it listed on his real grade page. But he does have a bunch of other stuff listed as well, and of course a bunch of the ones that I have written down that I believe to be overused. And not as many as I would have thought, but then again, real grade doesn't have as many kits compared to the other grades. So Zaku 2 only went up like by 3, so it's 39. RX 78's got 41. The new has 10, which I'm sure that there's another one that is not listed that I've been counting. I forget what it's called, but it's the one that's purple with like 2 wings. I'll probably, put a picture of it up on the screen, but that's one that I've been counting for the new Gundam. At the end, I'll probably go through, I'll probably list all the ones I've been counting for each one so that you know that these were also included in that count. For the Wing, it has 13. The Barbie only has 1 still. Stray has 8. Strike has 15. Freedom has 12. Exia has 10. And Unicorn has 15. So after selecting his HG tab, I counted them. Not as many as I would have thought for certain kits, but then I realized that he has a lot more tabs that will have more than likely the kits that I believed should have been in there. Like he has 00 and Seed and all that kind of separate. Even though there are Seed kits in the regular HG tab, there are some that I know are missing. And I think he has them in the Seed tab that are like just nothing but Seed kits. So, yeah, that might be the case because some of this just doesn't add up. But after counting the high grade tab, there was 72 RX-78s, 70 different Zaku 2 kits, 14 new Gundam kits, 29 Unicorn, 15 Wing, 10 Exia, 8 Astray, 14 Freedom, 17 Strikes, and 1 Barbie still. So clearly there's going to be more that come later once I get done counting all the different tabs. But, yeah, I'm starting to notice he has it set up in certain ways, but it doesn't make sense. Like, if he wanted HG to be just Universal Century, why did he put Wing and different stuff in there? It doesn't really make any sense to me. But that's just how he has it set up for some reason. So there will be more of these kits later once I get to those tabs. Moving on to, I believe, SD. Excuse me, it wasn't SDs. That will be coming up next. It was perfect grades that were I had to count. Because there's not that many perfect grades, it really wasn't too hard to count them. So at the end, we have 76 kits in total for the RX, 74 for Zaku 2, still 14 for the new, because there is no new Gundam perfect grade, 32 for the Unicorn, 16 for the Wing, 12 for the Exia, 10 for the Astray, 16 for the Freedom, 20 for the Strike, and 1 for the Barbie because there is no perfect grade Barbados, at least not yet. So that's all we got for that particular tab. Now I'm moving on to SD tab 1. He has 2 separate SD tabs. So the SDs, because there's so many of them, were pretty hard to count and figure out which ones were which, because at a certain point, especially you start looking at the ones that look like they have samurai armor and all that kind of stuff, or like ancient Chinese armor, they all look very, 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 very similar, and it's really hard to distinguish them. But I did try my best. So some might have more than they should, some might have less than they should, but this is not going to be a perfect countdown, of course. I'm not attempting to. I'm just trying to get an overall idea of how many there are for each one. So for the RX-78, we got 90. For the Zaku 2, 85. Unicorn, 43. Wing, 24. The New Gundam, 22. Exia, 16. Astray, 14. Freedom, 21. Strike, 26. And the Barbie has 7. Now we're going to move on to show specific tags. So now I've gotten done with all of the show specific categories that he has listed or tags, and I'm sure that some of these are repeat kits that are also in there, and some that are in there that he didn't put anywhere else. But regardless of that, for that one we have a tally of 91 for the RX, Zaku 2, 86, Unicorn, 45, Wing, 27, the New Gundam, 24, Strike, 47, Exia, 30, Astray, 47, Freedom, 34, and Barbie, 15. Now, again, like I said, I probably included a couple other kids by accident or on purpose, so bear with me here. Also, from now, the last few tabs will include, I guess, a bunch of extra ones and also all of the old kits, and then that will be the end of the tally, and then we'll see how much we have at the end. After counting the last few that were in the different tabs, and, you know, counting the weird ones, like the really small ones that come on, you know, starships and stuff, I have concluded that there's way too much of this shit. No, I'm just kidding. But there is still a lot. I got 118 for the RX. Now I could be off a few. There might be more, there might be a few less. 23 for the Zaku 2. Again, there might be some that, you know, put on here I probably shouldn't have, but you'll see at the end. I'll go through the ones I counted. The Unicorn with 46. The Wing has 37. The New Gundam has 27. The Strike has 50. The Exia has around 32. The Astray has around 50. Freedom has 36. And Barbie has 16. So, surprisingly enough, Barbados I thought would have a lot more, because it always seemed like every time I turned around there was a new Barbados model kit. But I guess just because he is one of the newer shows, that him having so many come out so quickly kind of makes sense. But it felt like there was a lot more coming out than there actually was. But those are definitely the ones I would pick for the most overused, except for apparently Barbie. Apparently that one's not overused, because 16 really isn't too bad. But you start hitting that 30 mark, that's where you're probably starting to get to too many of the same suit being used. Alright. So starting off, obviously, when it comes to the RX, I counted all of the granddaddies. So any RX 78-2 I counted. I also counted the G3, or the 78-3, the 4 and the 5, because they're basically all the same thing. I also counted the Thunderbolt full armor. I know it's called the FA-78, but it's literally just an RX once you take all the full armor stuff off. So it's basically just an RX. And I also counted that old school version of the full armor, which was like green or whatever, or heavy arms, whatever it was called. And I also counted the perfect Gundam because it's literally just an RX with a bunch of stuff on top of it. That's it. And of course, any SD versions, stuff like that that I could spot easily, I counted. Now, the ones that I counted for the Zaku 2, obviously, I counted any regular Zaku 2s. I counted any of the command variants that have the command fin on top of the head, which means that I counted any Ace Pilot version or any alternate release that was in a different color. I counted all of the regular Zaku 2s I could find. I also counted the Zaku 2 FZ, or the Foz, or however you want to say it. You know, the one that was in War on the Pocket. I counted that one as well and incorporated that into the count. So that's why it might have elevated some of the numbers a little bit there. I also did the unicorn, and obviously that meant that I'd done the unicorn high grades that have unicorn mode only and destroy mode versions only. I also, of course, counted the other grades that have transforming abilities to go in between both destroy and um, unicorn mode. And of course, any full armor versions, or I did it for awakened versions that have the green psycho frame underneath. And I also, of course, did this for the Banshee and the Phoenix as well. So any version of those I counted. And I also counted any SD versions I could easily see, as well as any special edition versions I found. So the Wing Gundam is a very similar story. So I counted any regular Wing Gundam, which of course would be the TV show version. I counted any Wing Gundam Zeros from the TV show version. This is the one that is like has it looks like two tubes on the back for its wings. I counted those, and then of course I counted the Endless Waltz version, which seems to be the one that has the most kits. It has more kits than the TV show version, so the Endless Waltz version is the most common, like, Wing Gundam kit you can find. I say out of all of them, probably about 15 were Endless Waltz kits. Um, and like a handful of the Build Fighters Wing Gundam kits, like the one from the original show, and another one that's like on fire. I forget what it's called. I found that one too, and I counted it. And of course, any SD versions I could easily spot and tell was a Wing Gundam. I also counted. So the new Gundam, of course, I counted any regular new Gundam kits that would include no matter what grade. Obviously, I picked if I could easily spot a SD, I would count it as well. But I also included the High Noon. I think it's called the High Noon Gundam, the one that's like purple and it's got two sets of funnels for like wings. It looks really cool. That one I also counted because it's literally the same thing. It's just slightly improved and has an extra set of funnels. That's basically it. So I'm just going to go ahead and count it as a new Gundam as well. For the Strike, I counted, of course, any regular Strike kits. Strike kits, what's it called? L Strike kit. I counted those. I counted Sword Strike, I counted Launcher Strike, and I counted the Perfect Strike all separately. So even though it's technically the exact same thing with just different weapons, I counted them as separate kits because when you buy them, you get this suit all over again. So yeah, it's technically the same thing with different weapons, but unless you buy the weapon set, you're going to be getting the suit as well. So I counted as a different version. And I also counted, of course, the Strike Noir. I counted that, and I counted any of the Build Strike variants as well. So that was also included with the Strike count. And any SDs that I could easily see were a strike, obviously. I counted those as well. Exia, um, I counted obviously the Exia. Any kind of Exia variant, like Trans Am mode, I counted those. I counted any SD versions that were obvious. And I counted the Dark Matter Exia when it popped up. So basically, any Exia variant from Build Fighters, I counted. And I try to count the other versions that come from like mangas that don't have anime tie-ins. I try and count those as well. I might have accidentally counted a few like Double O Quanta kits, thinking that they were Exias because they look so similar to me. And that's my biggest problem with Double O is that so many of the suits look exactly the same that it's so hard to tell them apart, at least for someone who's not a huge fan of the design. So it was kind of difficult for me. So I think I might have counted a few other Double O kits that are not Exias, but honestly, with a count of 36, I'm pretty sure that if I did make that mistake, it would probably be only like 30. So yeah, there's a lot of Exia kits out there. Astray, I counted obviously any regular red frame Astray. I counted any like dragon version and anything like that. I counted those. I also counted blue frame Astrays. I counted green frame. I counted gold frame, and I counted what's it called? Astray Noir, and I counted No Name Astray, and I counted those other ones that are like asymmetrical from the build series. I counted those. And of course, any Astray versions that were from SD, I counted if I could spot it easily. And I counted the M1 Gundam suits because they're basically Astrays, but they have a little bit more armor on them. So I counted those as Astrays because that's basically what they are. Um, and I'm pretty sure that's all I counted for Astrays. Yeah. I tried not to, put anything that wasn't an Astray into that count, like I try to do for all of them. But I'm sure a few other kits slipped in there because there's just so many to look through. You're gonna make mistakes. It's like impossible not to. Now for Freedom Gundams, I pretty much counted obviously Freedoms, any Freedom SD version I could see easily, and the Strike Freedom. I also counted those. And any build freedom variants like the Amazing Freedom Gundam, I counted that as well. So uh, the fact that there was only 36 really surprised me, but honestly, the Freedom has some of the best variety when it comes to Gundam kits. Like it has some in like some of the most low grades, like no grade and stuff. So I find that really fascinating. But I thought there'd be more. I thought that Freedom would have around 50 as well, but it didn't. So I'm surprised, but I guess I can't be too surprised considering there isn't like 15 different versions of the Freedom. It's just Freedom and Strike Freedom, and that's it. And finally, Barbie. Obviously, I counted any kind of SD version I could easily see, and I counted any regular version of Barbados, which of course has like 6 different forms. So I counted each form as I came across it, and there really wasn't that many kits in total, at least on that site, which was about 16. I was really shocked about how few kits there actually are for Barbie, um, considering the fact that there's so many different forms that they could make, at least 6 different versions of the Master Grade Barbados with all his different armors. But they didn't do that. They actually released a P Bandai Barbados where you get all the individual armors and then you choose what to put on the kit, which I think is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, those are the ones I counted for that as well. So yeah, altogether, I feel like my list is pretty accurate, honestly, when it comes to which suits are the most overused. The only one on this list that I would probably take off and would try to replace with another suit would be the Barbie. Now that I look at it, there's probably maybe one or two others I could have put on here. Possibly something like the God Gundam or Burning Gundam probably should have been on here. It gets a lot of kids, and maybe Zeta. Zeta was originally on here, but I took it off because he doesn't really get that many kids. Um, so I'm not actually sure what I could have put, what else I could have put on here as like an overused or overmade kit. But that's pretty much what I came up with. So 9 out of 10, I think, is pretty good. Uh, Pretty good for guessing which one I believe was actually the most overused. So, anyways, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, like the video, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Yokai, and I'm heading out. Have a good one. So yeah, I know this video kind of seems a little weird. Like it doesn't really have much of a purpose, but it actually does. I'm going to be doing another video sometime later where I'm talking about why this is kind of an issue. Having so many of the same suits being redone in so many kits. Um, Especially if it's like the same grade and it's got another version of itself. Like, I mean, if you just look at the RX, there's like 5 different high grades. You know, it's just crazy. So, and then of course those 5 versions have like, 16 different variants, like when it comes to like special editions and stuff. Like it's a lot. So that's basically what this is about. It's just kind of setting up for another video I'm going to do later. So appreciate you bearing with me and sticking through this video. Uh, Thank you.